Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome back to the course titled Strategic Communication for Sustainable Development. My name is Aradhana Malik and I'm helping you with this course. Today we will talk about a comparison of CSR strategies for sustainable development. I told you that very little literature exists on the application of communication, of strategic communication, of communication strategy to sustainable development. So what I'm trying to do through this course is bring in strategies, communication strategies used in other scenarios, in other arenas, in other environments, and apply them to sustainable development, and see how practitioners, people like you who are sitting and who are listening to this lecture, can apply these things in your own environments, and then maybe through your feedback we can together design something more concrete. And so this is a paper by Morsing and Schultz in which they have compared three main communication strategies that are applied to the corporate social responsibility efforts of large corporate houses. And the three strategies that we will discuss and compare today are the stakeholder information strategy, the stakeholder response strategy, and the stakeholder involvement strategy. Now these three names are very self-explanatory. They are very you can make out from the names what this strategy would be about. So we'll go into the details. Stakeholder information strategy assumes that communication is always one way, especially in this case where the primary goal of the communication is to give information, is to provide information. It is always one way from the organization to its stakeholders, telling, not listening. The stakeholders need information and we need to give them information, and that is the strategy that we are that should be used in order to help them understand. So we are the experts, the stakeholders are the lay people, and the lay people need to be told things. So it is one way. The stakeholder response strategy is based on a two-way asymmetric communication model where it is sender oriented. It is focused on convincing the stakeholders of the attractiveness of the message or company or organization or group that is going to go in with their development efforts. Now stakeholder response strategy tries to let the stakeholders respond or to the efforts put in by the experts, but the experts still are the experts. The people who are going into the community still consider themselves as experts. It is sender oriented, so the needs are taken from the community and appropriate strategies are designed, and we go in and we convince the community that whatever we are doing is for their benefit and is going to be attractive to them, and they should accept the efforts that are being given to them, so they are still the recipients of the efforts. Stakeholder involvement strategy, on the other hand, as the name suggests, focuses on involvement of the stakeholders in the development efforts. The development efforts are designed with the intention of helping the community, learning from the community. They are as much involved in the process as are the stakeholders, as the workers themselves, and they go into the community and they are told that they go in and they keep their eyes and ears open, and they don't give so much of information. They may have a lot of information, but they go in with the assumption that they have to be sensitive to the environment. They have to take in whatever the stimuli, the messages that the environment is sending them, and they have to then adapt their responses to the environment. They have to adapt the way they help the environment according to the needs of the environment. So they go in as facilitators, as helpers, not as experts. And that is the, and whatever we say and do is based on the community itself. Comparison of these strategies based on several parameters. The communication ideal, what are we trying to achieve through the communication as proposed by Grunig and Hunt 1984 and Morsing and Schultz 2006. Now this is something that these researchers talked about, and the stakeholder information strategy assumes that the communication ideal, what we are trying to achieve in and through communication, is public information. It's one-way communication. Stakeholder response strategy assumes a two-way asymmetric communication. We will find out what they want, and or we will send out a message, and based on the comfort or discomfort of the community, we'll change our message. And stakeholder involvement strategy is the communication ideal, the communication goal that we are trying to achieve through this is the type of communication we are trying to establish is the two-way symmetric communication. They tell us, they come in, they ask for help, we go in, we help them, we do things with them, we become one with the community, and everything is focused in and around dialogue. The communication ideal here is sense making and sense giving in the stakeholder information strategy. We give sense to them, we give them new information, we make sense of whatever we are saying, and they just sit there and listen. Communication ideal in stakeholder response strategy is sense making leading to sense giving. So we make the things that we are giving them attractive, and we say this is what we are talking about, describe it, and hope that they will accept whatever we are giving them. And in the last one, stakeholder involvement strategy, sense making leads to sense giving in an iterative process. It goes back and forth. It is an iterative process where the community informs us what they want, where the community tells us what they want, and we make sense from what they are telling us. So sense making and sense giving happens on both sides. We understand where they are coming from, we understand their context, and we give them whatever we have gone prepared with. We share our resources, we build a common understanding of what is required in the community, we build a common understanding of how to help the community, we become one with the community, and we come to a common understanding of what it is that we want to achieve in the community. And that common understanding may be very different from what we had thought it would be when we went into the community. It may also be very different from what the community understands we will do before we went in. So we build this together. It is the social construction, co-construction of meaning. Now stakeholder information strategy, as far as the stakeholders are concerned, when we adopt the stakeholder information strategy, the stakeholders request more information on corporate CSR efforts. So they keep asking us, what do you have for us? What are you going to give us? How are you going to help us? In the stakeholder response strategy, the stakeholders must be reassured that the company is ethical and socially responsible. They will not take us because we've gone there. They will take us, they will accept us only when they are convinced that whatever we are giving them is fair and square, and we are only going to help them. If they feel, if they are not convinced about that, they don't let outsiders into the community, they don't allow us to help them, they don't allow the people who go in with expertise to do what they went in there to do. And in the stakeholder involvement strategy, the stakeholders help the people going in with development efforts, with resources, with energy, with the commitment to the community to co-construct corporate CSR efforts. So they decide, they get together, the planning is done together, the implementation is done together, the needs assessment is done together, the monitoring and evaluation is done together, planning for the next phase is done together. I mean, this is one team. One team is formed. The stakeholders are part of the action team. They are part of the planning team, they are part of the monitoring and evaluation team, they are part of the feedback process. And so, the stakeholders become an integral part of the team that talks about things, that goes in and does the things. Now, as far as stakeholder role is concerned, in the stakeholder information strategy, the role of the stakeholder is just to support or oppose. They either say yes or they say no. So, they either support the cause, they either support the efforts or they oppose the efforts. In the stakeholder response strategy, the role of the stakeholder is that the stakeholders respond to corporate actions. The stakeholders, when the corporate actions are taken, the stakeholders just come in. The stakeholders tell the corporate sector what they are doing, how can it be done differently, but they don't have any role in planning. Now, as far as the stakeholder involvement strategy is concerned, the stakeholders are involved, they participate and they suggest corporate actions. The stakeholders become a part of the whole process, they become a part of whatever is going on there. So, that is their suggestions are taken, their feedback is taken, and in and through the feedback, further actions at every stage, at every sub stage, the stakeholders are involved in designing the process and implementing the process. Identification of CSR focus. In the stakeholder information strategy, the CSR focus is decided by the top management. The focus of efforts is decided by the top management. In the stakeholder response strategy, the CSR focus is decided by the top management. The stakeholder, the focus is investigated and the feedback is given via opinion polls, dialogue, network and partnerships. The focus of the efforts is decided by the top management of the team that is going in to help the community. And in the stakeholder involvement strategy, the focus is negotiated concurrently in interaction with stakeholders. The stakeholders decide where, how the efforts are going to be conducted, how these efforts are going to work. So, all of that is decided with the stakeholders. Strategic communication task, what we hope to achieve or what kind of actions do we take when in the stakeholder information strategy we inform stakeholders about favorable corporate CSR decisions and actions. We let the stakeholders know what the CSR, we tell them how we are going to help them, what is going to be beneficial for them. In the response strategy, it is demonstrated to the stakeholders how the company integrates their concerns. It is demonstrated to the stakeholders what the helpers or what the community, what the experts can do for the stakeholders, and how their concerns are going to be integrated into the work that is going to be done. So, the ultimate answer to the question of the stakeholders is, this is how we will help you and this is how it will be beneficial for your community. And we don't wait for them to tell us about their concerns. We take their concerns into account and we shape our messages in such a way that the stakeholders are convinced that whatever we are doing is going to be beneficial for them. Now, in the stakeholder involvement strategy, the strategic communication task is inviting and establishing frequent, systematic and proactive dialogue with stakeholders, that is opinion makers, corporate critics, the media, etc. So, we invite people, we make them a part of the team, and there is a dialogue, and in and through dialogue there are opinion makers, there are corporate critics, we get all the stakeholders on board, and in and through dialogue, in and through communication, in and through team efforts, we decide what and how things will happen. Stakeholder information strategy, the corporate communication department's task in the stakeholder information strategy is the task of the organization that is going in, that as communicators, as strategic communicators, the team that is going in with the strategic communication design, the task of this team in stakeholder information strategy is to design appealing concept messages. This is what we will do, this is what we are going to do. And as far as stakeholder response strategy is concerned, the corporate communication department's task is to identify the relevant stakeholders. So here we just go in, we don't even care who the stakeholders are, we go in, we tell the community we are coming in with this, bang, that's it. Now, as far as the stakeholder response strategy is concerned, we find out who it is who will be affected, which of the community members are going to be affected by our efforts, and we go in and we identify these people, and we do things according to the acceptability by these people. And in stakeholder involvement strategy, we don't only identify them, we don't find out who will listen to us and who will not listen to us, who will benefit from us and who will not benefit from us. We build relationships, we do things the way we are supposed to. I mean, we do things in such a way that the relationships are built, in such a way that the community integrates our efforts and us into its envelope. It just takes us in and then responds to us accordingly. So, in the third party, do we need third party endorsement of CSR initiatives, of our activities? In the stakeholder information strategy, we don't need anyone else outside of us and the community that we are working for to tell us whether whatever we are doing is going to be helpful for them or not. So, it's unnecessary. In the stakeholder response strategy, the integrated element of surveys, rankings and opinion polls is the third party endorsement of CSR initiatives. So, we get surveys, we get rankings, we find out what people have thought about our efforts, and we take the results from these surveys, rankings and opinion polls, and then we implement them, and that is the endorsement. In the stakeholder involvement strategy, the stakeholders are themselves involved in corporate CSR messages. So, the stakeholders themselves sit down with us and help us design these messages, and that is the third party endorsement of CSR initiatives. So, these are some of the strategies that we use. Now, this is the different strategies are presented in these slides together. So, when I put up these slides, you can go through these slides and you'll see that the stakeholder involvement strategy is the most preferred as far as actual active efforts in the field of if we really want the community to accept whatever we are doing, if we really want the community to be a part of what we are doing, if we want them to integrate efforts in the context of sustainable development, the first one does not work very much. Stakeholder information strategy, you go and tell people what we are going to do, people will not believe you. People need to believe whatever we are telling them, people need to integrate whatever we are telling them, and people need to make it a part of their lives. Here, in the stakeholder information strategy, it's a one-way communication. We don't care about what other people think of us. We just design appealing concept messages, we let our messages loose into the community, and we expect the community to take our messages and use them as we send them, and that is not what will help our efforts become sustainable. In the stakeholder response strategy, again we are trying to influence the community, but we don't expect the community to accept whatever we are sending into the community. We don't expect them to integrate whatever we are telling them into the way they are doing things. We expect them to just accept the messages we are sending or reject the messages that we are sending. But when we talk about sustainable development, we want the community to understand why certain behaviors need to change. We want the community to accept, to understand, to agree with the required change in behaviors. We want the community to understand why certain behaviors need to be adopted by them. We want them to understand them, we want them to recognize the need for these things, and we want these changes in behaviors to become a part of their daily routines. We don't want to enforce anything on them, we don't want them to feel pressured to do something. We want them to make it a part of their routines and their daily lives. So what we do here is that we send these messages into the community, and when we go into the stakeholder involvement strategy, we insist on two-way a two-way symmetric communication. We make sure that the community first follows what is being said, first understands why things are important. So let's just take the example of toffee wrappers or plastic bottles or packaging material that is non-biodegradable. So we take all these things into the community that is using pattal or the plates made out of leaves, and disposable. I mean, in places where bamboo grows, bamboo is cut, and it's the dry bamboo tumblers are used. So those things are biodegradable, and if people continue to use them, it's good. We take them, we bring them to our homes, we put them in our display cabinets, but that's not what they are for. They can be very useful as biodegradable material that doesn't harm the environment. So if they are using those tumblers, we should encourage that use of tumblers, and not, we should help them understand why using disposable thermocol glasses or plastic glasses or plastic packaging material or polythene bags is bad for their own environment. The day they understand it, they will reduce their use of such material. They will realize that it could harm the environment that they are living in, and they will understand it, and then they will decide their goals on their own. So just telling them to stop using polythene bags is not enough. They need to understand why they need to stop using polythene bags or reduce their consumption of polythene bags, because that way, if they understand it, they'll do it willingly, and if they do it willingly, it will last much longer. The whole idea, the whole vision behind sustainability is to make things last as long as possible, and that is why we go into the community with these ideas. We want the community to be involved, we want the community to participate. One way communication doesn't work in the community has to follow what is being said. Okay, so stakeholders needs to be involved themselves in the efforts that we give them, and because this is taken directly from the paper by Morsing and Schultz, this has the word CSR in it, but then we can take these efforts and we can use them in any kind of development efforts. And if you are a practitioner and you are listening to this lecture, I strongly urge you to try these different strategies and see what works best for you. I'll wait for your feedback. I will look forward to your comments. My gut feeling is that you will come back and you will tell me that if we want an effort to be accepted, we want some change in behavior to come into the environment, the stakeholder involvement strategy is what works best in the communities where we are trying to encourage people to change their behaviors over a longer period of time. We want people to make these changes in behaviors a part of the way they do things, and that is where we will stop now, and we will take the discussion from here the next time. Thank you very much for listening.